So it's another episode of our podcast here on the Kempire Radio Network. I'm your boy, the Kempire, and there's a lot of things that we need to catch up on, including my recent trip to Tennessee, but also updates since the last time we were here. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about some of the hot topics that we spoke about a couple of weeks ago. I know a lot of time has passed. You know, I'm trying my very, very best to be consistent with the podcast. I love doing the podcast and I love having a different type of conversation with you here on this particular platform. But as you know, life be lifing, and sometimes I just don't have the time or haven't made the time to talk about these things. So enough of that. I'm tired of giving you guys excuses because I know you're probably thinking excuses. Okay, all right. I'm trying. So just a quick update from our last episode, because a lot changed from our last episode to now, including the whole Jen Shah situation. As you know, the Jen Shah situation, we literally were supposed to be in the middle of a trial right now, but at the last minute, Jen Shah pleaded guilty. She pleaded guilty, and according to sources, Meredith Marks and Heather Gay that were with her here in New York City at the time filming for Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, she told them the night before. You may recall Jen Shah has been parading on social media on Real Housewives of Salt Lake City and interviews claiming that she's so innocent, and she tried to use the whole race card in multiple situations. And this is exactly why I could not rock with Jen Shah and believe in her innocence, because literally in court, if you read the transcript of when she pled guilty, she admits to defrauding elderly people of millions of dollars. And with this admission, she now has to fork over $6.5 million in assets. Some of those assets have already been obtained during the search of her home. And after she goes to jail, and keep in mind, the sentencing won't happen until November, but after she comes out of jail, she will have to pay back in restitution $9 million. And according to our friends over at Emily D. Baker, according to our friend Emily D. Baker, now, more than likely, Coordinator Shah will also be liable for some of that money. Anything that's marital assets, he will also be responsible. Do I see a divorce in their future? Unless he understood what she was doing all this time. You know, a lot of people have been speculating, why haven't people been harder on Coordinator Shah versus an Erica Girardi? Well, literally today I reported on Erica Girardi another lawsuit. She was served while getting off of a plane in LAX. She was served at LAX, and now another lawsuit. I don't know the validity of this lawsuit, but they are accusing Erica of also being a front woman in this whole situation. We shall see. Anyone can file a lawsuit nowadays, but I mean, there's a lot of smoke. There's a lot of smoke around Erica Girardi, Erica White, Erica Jane, whatever her name may be. But there's always been a lot of smoke about Jen Shah. And I think maybe because people kind of found Jen Shah a little bit more likable, that's why she didn't experience the same level of vitriol that Erica Jane did. Maybe, you know, people have done all kinds of think pieces on why Jen Shah has sort of escaped the same scrutiny as Erica Girardi. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, because to me, it's very clear the difference. There really is no difference. They're both terrible people that stole allegedly, in regards to Erica Jane, because she hasn't been proven in the court of law just yet. But Jen Shah has been proven. She has admitted guilt. So there is no trial. I know there were people that were disappointed. I'm not, because I just did not feel like following another legal case that I already knew the ending of, especially with the Southern District of New York.
Period.
All that being said, so the Jen Shah situation we spoke about a couple of weeks ago, that there is the current update in regards to that. The other update that we have for you in regards to a legal situation is Ricky Martin. So as you know, we were following a situation with Ricky Martin. At first, we had no idea. We just thought it was maybe a partner where he was accusing Ricky Martin of stalking him, harassing him, those kinds of things. Come to find out, it was the nephew. So Ricky Martin's team, his attorney, came out before the decision was made and said that the nephew had mental health issues. Okay. And according to our friend Norma chimed in after she did her own Google schmoogle and she's been following the reports. They said that the nephew has had a history of making claims and erratic behavior. Well, Ricky Martin this past week came out clear in regards to this situation. The nephew decided to dismiss their claims. I know people have been going back and forth. Well, that doesn't mean that Ricky Martin is innocent. It doesn't, but this also doesn't mean what we thought Ricky Martin was facing, and that was 50 years possibly in jail due to incest laws in Puerto Rico. So Ricky Martin did release a video thanking all of his fans and really just saying that he has been devastated by all of this. But this is not over for Ricky Martin because, as you know, Ricky Martin is also facing a $3 million lawsuit from his former manager that also alleged a deep, dark secret that they helped Ricky Martin with when they came on a couple of years ago. I don't know what's going on with Ricky Martin. I don't know about this deep, dark secret. Ricky Martin has had such a pretty clean career. The last thing I need is for Ricky Martin to not be that person who we thought he was. Let's hope not. But we're going to continue to follow that story because literally, if I didn't hear about the nephew story, I would have never heard about the lawsuit because the lawsuit came out maybe a few days before this restraining order. But thankfully, Ricky Martin can take a sigh of relief, especially after hiring one of the top celebrity attorneys, Marty Singer, to get this over and clear with. Marty has gotten some people out of things that you would never know, and I'm sure it costs a pretty penny to do so. Moving on. Wendy Williams. So another video where we're talking about Wendy Williams, but there's another update. So as we've said, and we've covered this before, and we have to cover this because so many of you reach out to me and say, Kempire, any update on Wendy Williams? This is the current update that I have on Wendy Williams. Yes, she is currently working on a podcast, according to her new manager, aka Jeweler. And the content that she's putting out on this new Instagram that she has, it's old footage, but there's some new footage where she just does not seem 100%. If you saw the TMZ live interview that she didn't seem 100%. Someone called into the Kempire Daily YouTube channel and said, watch that video again. It seems like it was heavily edited because her ring keeps switching in the video, and it's something that we didn't notice before. I'm going to have to go back and definitely check that out. But honestly, I don't really need to. Everything that we got in that video, Wendy Williams did not seem like herself. I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to sit here and diagnose what might be going on with Wendy Williams. But what I do know, she's not 100%. She's not ready to do a podcast, to do television. She needs to focus on her health. But another story came out from her brother, Tommy Williams. As you know, Tommy has a YouTube channel, and there was a lot of back and forth when Wendy was still on her daytime talk show where she took shots at him and he was making all kinds of claims on his YouTube channel. Well, when the TMZ interview came out, he admitted on his YouTube channel that, yes, I lied in regards to, the status of her health and mental health and what she's going through. So he admitted to lying about that. Well, now he's claiming that Wendy's son, who I said, during our last report on that TMZ live interview in the Wells Fargo situation, I said, it's time for little Kev to step up and really take care of his mom now that he's of legal age. Well, according to Tommy, for Wendy Williams' birthday, I believe, was on July 17th. According to her brother, Tommy, her son planned a trip to come up to New York City and to be with his mother for her birthday. But when he arrived, she would not let him into her New York City penthouse apartment. This is according to Tommy. And I know everyone's like, he's just clout chasing. Why are you talking about your family business? I believe him, though. I believe this story because, as I said to you before, I don't believe Wendy Williams is 100%. And now we might have a better understanding as to why little Kev is not necessarily involved in the day-to-day when it comes to Wendy. I don't know what he needs to necessarily do. I was under the impression that he had the power of attorney after the whole Wells Fargo situation. Not sure what the update on that is. We really won't get to know a lot of that information without Wendy saying it. But a podcast, I don't think that's in the future. Them taking more control over Wendy Williams' affairs. As you know, there already is a financial guardian in place. I wouldn't be surprised if we hear that there's an overall guardianship. I believe we also had someone that's very familiar with this in the comment section pretty much saying, if this person's over her financial situation, it's pretty much a guardianship. Very similar to the conservatorship that we were following with Britney Spears. This is such a sad way for the Wendy Williams legacy to be right now. I'm not going to say to come to an end because it's not end. She's still here with us. But for the way the show ended, for the way that things are playing out, it's sad. I know some of you that don't like Wendy are saying this is karma. I don't know if it's that. I don't know. But what I do know, Wendy has made a lot of people smile and laugh over the years. She's entertained people over the years. And I do think there is a sector, a lot more people that love Wendy Williams that more than hate Wendy Williams. And even if they don't like Wendy Williams, they don't wish this type of end of her career either. Neither do we. But let's move on. Since we're in the middle of this whole situation debacle unfolding, let's talk about Shera Whitfield and her new love affair with Martel Holt from Love and Marriage Huntsville. So you may be under a rock if you haven't heard about Shera Whitfield and her, videotape of her in Huntsville at one point hanging out with the minister that we saw in Love and Marriage Huntsville. Well, Shera opened up this week and revealed that, yes, she's talking to him. He's met her family and and they met through a mutual friend who I said is Carlos King. Carlos King took to social media and was like, mood, Happy Tuesday, hashtag Happy Tuesday. And it was a picture of him and Shera at his show, Nightcap with Carlos King. Sidebar, Carlos. This is not personal, Carlos. You know I'm a straight shooter. I was a big advocate for you hosting the Love and Marriage Huntsville reunion because the previous hosts weren't just working. But I think all of this is starting to go to Carlos's head. I don't know. You're giving me Andy Cohen vibes, and that didn't work out well for Andy. However, some would say that it has worked out well for Andy. Andy's walking away with millions and millions of dollars, his own failing show. But the amount of people that are like, okay, honestly, can we talk as if no one's here? In comparison, at least when I watch What Happens Live, I'm not like this with the constant screaming on Nightcap with Carlos. I'm like, ooh.
Oh, you was getting smart.
But I'm not going to knock his hustle. I'm not going to say he can't talk about the Housewives. He produced Real Housewives for years. Now he's producing reality TV. But we can also, with that being said, and respect what he's done and say that he's a little annoying. The constant conversations about the Real Housewives. I'm starting to believe the reason why Phaedra won't talk about the situation was that the speculation that there was that he was involved in that whole rumor around Kandi, even though he's denied it, I'm just sort of like looking at him sideways now based off the way he's moving now and being messy on social media. But everyone has a right to their opinion. I'm never going to say he needs to shut up. I'm just saying, I'm never going to say that he needs to shut up. Because some of you, I don't know, I'm sure there are some of you that will say you need to shut up. But this is my job. And a lot of those people are just haters. But I also kind of get what people are saying because recently he spoke about the Real Housewives of Dubai. And Dubai is not perfect. But you know what? I've been watching reality TV for so long to understand, especially Real Housewives, it's going to take more than a season. It's going to take more than a season. I think what they have here, there's something to work with. I definitely think that some people need to go. Some people need to be a little bit more authentic. And the amount of stuff that I've heard about all of the housewives on this show, I don't know why some of y'all come on reality TV in front. I really don't. I don't know why. If you're not going to be open and honest, why come on reality TV? But one thing I can agree with Carlos King, he says that he feels like they've been watching Real Housewives for so long that they're trying to mimic what they've seen on TV. I don't think at this point you could start a city anywhere and you're not going to have these housewives doing the same thing. Honestly, I don't think you're going to have that. But I do think the idea of Real Housewives of Dubai is an interesting one. And based off of the ladies that we've gotten, for me, the breakout star is definitely Chanel Ayan. And according to my sources, the amount of... We almost did not get Chanel. According to my sources, we almost did not get Chanel on this show. Lisa, I'm loving. I want to see more of Lisa. People are referring to Lisa as a confessional gangster as versus saying it in the moment. But what I'm also hearing, according to sources, is that a lot of this stuff, when we're looking at it, why we don't understand dynamics, is because a lot of stuff is cut out because this is in Dubai. And this is part of the reason why these human rights groups came out and said, NBC, how are you having a show in a place that is so problematic? And it's very clear, despite them trying to show the glitz and the glam of the city, that it's hard to film there because you can't have the messy show that you're used to there. Well, as we're, filming this and recording this podcast, the ladies are here in New York City and they are getting ready for their reunion. And a lot of you are wondering, why are they not filming it in Dubai? Because it's Dubai. Unfortunately, look, Dubai has come a long way in some instances, and Dubai is not necessarily exactly what people think it is, but it's also a lot of the things that people think that it is. And sidebar, Caroline Brooks and your cousin, they love us, black people in Dubai. No, I think y'all need to clarify that and say they love Americans. They like the U.S. passport. They don't love black people because we hear about modern day slavery of Africans in Dubai. So let's be clear. Back to Carlos King. All right, elephant brain. Yes. All right. Carlos King is calling, he says, Real Housewives a bye-bye. He says that it's boring. He feels like the ladies are too, aware of other housewives and trying to mimic that. Giselle, because he said all this on Giselle and Robin's podcast, Reasonably Shady. And Giselle says she's bored with them. And then I said to myself, look, we love Potomac. I've watched Potomac since the beginning. However, there were a lot of people that are just getting into Potomac and may have just gotten into Potomac after the Monique and Candace fight. So let's not sit here and act as if Potomac was reigning supreme from season 1. See how quickly people forget and try to drag a new franchise? And I find it so interesting, especially but we already know Giselle has no loyalty to anyone. She has no loyalty to anyone. She's not trying to uplift women in any way. And I'm not saying that she can't have her opinion, but this is the problem when a housewife has a podcast where she talks about other housewives. But them talking about, it's like watching paint dry. And she says she only watched an episode and a half. You can't have an opinion on a show where you've watched an episode because they are building a show. They don't look. Why am I trumping for Andy Cohen's franchise? Because you know what? I've been watching Real Housewives since the early years of New Jersey and New York and Atlanta. I was never an OC guy. I've told you that already. So I've seen how certain shows over time have taken their time to find their legs. Look at Real Housewives of Dallas. It took a while for them to find their legs, but they still got rid of them. But they really didn't they didn't really cancel Dallas. I believe they are still interested in bringing Dallas back. But Dallas still wasn't getting the ratings. Dubai's still getting bigger ratings than Dallas. Take a look at those Dallas ratings from last season. The ratings for Dubai are really good in comparison. And one other part that we forget about, how this show, this particular city is seen in more countries than other housewives shows. Okay. So there's that element. And I saw that recently Kenya talked about the fans talking about the ratings and do the other housewives focus on ratings as much. And she says something really interesting, and I want to play it for you guys.
Someone that's been on the show for a while, how concerned are you and other veterans of the show about ratings? Do you guys care at all, or do you guys pay attention?
We don't really pay attention to what the audience, like, we're the only audience. We have the only audience that really pays attention to our ratings instead of just watching the show, which is very bizarre. Like, they think that they're producers, which is so funny because they're so invested, and we love that our fan base is so strong and so invested. However, what they don't see is across the board ratings are going down because people are watching it digitally instead, like on their devices and downloading them. And so our numbers for our like +3s and our +7s are through the roof. So they're in the millions, whereas you guys you're not privy to those numbers. So it's interesting. Our ratings are fine. It's just the live ratings across all TV are down.
I mean, she's right. And we've been saying that, and especially when it comes to reality TV, ratings are down. However, when you look at some of the ratings of other shows like 90 Day Fiancé, or if you look at The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, the ratings for their live watch is pretty high still. Pretty high still. So there is a situation happening over at The Real Housewives of Atlanta. This season, though, I'm not as like, yay, here we are. I'm excited. But I like the mix of women that we've gotten so far. This past week's episode for me was kind of the dog bones. And I'm trying to root for Drew. I was trying to root for Drew last season, but she dropped the ball towards the end of the season. And now her throwing a dog bone. Like, girl, you don't even have a dog. And you went to your supermarket to pick up doggy treats and a dog bone so you can have a pre-produced moment.
I do not have time for this.
Like, that to me is corny. So I'm trying to root for Drew, but if Drew doesn't come back next season, I'm good. I don't think that Sheree's coming back next season because Sheree is trying to work on a new storyline to be on Love and Marriage Huntsville. Or maybe she's trying to bring Martel to Real Housewives of Atlanta so that she can have a storyline because they don't want her without a man. Which I think is so interesting. You already have, please do not bring Marlo back next season as a full-time housewife. You can bring her back as a friend of and keep her as that. And I said this before, and I already kind of knew that this is what it would be. Marlo brings nothing to this show as a full-time housewife. Although she does bring the shade and all this other, but she's still giving me friend of vibes. That's just my personal opinion. Some people love it. They feel like she's getting people activated like Candy and Kenya. Yeah, this fight between her and Kenya, it's not giving me what I need. Sorry, Marlo. Yes, I'm like a big kid in the studio right now. So let's move on. I don't know about you guys, but here's the podcast. I can talk a little bit more candidly about certain things. I was sitting before watching 90 Day Fiancé's spinoff, Love in Paradise, and I'm thinking to myself, I don't really sit and enjoy television like I used to since I'm reporting constantly. You guys are always hitting me up. Not you guys, but people are always hitting me up. Can you watch this show and report on this show? And that, guys, can I watch a show and not have to report on it? Like, I get it. You guys want to hear my opinions on all these shows, but sometimes it's like, I'd like to sit and watch a show and not have to think about rewatching it and taking notes on it. I would like to be able to watch a show and be like, oh, this is a good show. And sometimes I'm able to do it because I'm so into it. You know what I mean? I mean, the last time we had something like that, Young, Famous, and African, what else was the other show? But some of these other shows like The Real Housewives or 90 Day Fiancé, it's becoming a little too automatic. It's becoming a little too forced. And the last thing I did is leave my corporate job for a slave driving job now where I'm not enjoying it. Because trust and believe, I will switch up. And we do switch up and we do evolve. We went from doing our TLC takeover where we're talking talking about 90 Day Fiance and all these other reality shows. And now we're talking reality TV, but we're also talking recaps, news, pop culture news, here on Kempire Radio's YouTube channel and on Kempire Daily, we talk about pop culture news. Kempire Radio is more the podcast, but also if you look at some of my past interviews were behind the scenes with artists and behind the scenes with the people that make the music. So those things excite me. And those are some of the things that I'm going to continue to bring to the podcast to kind of mix it up for myself, my own mental health. And so there are conversations that I'm going to be having with some experts in different fields that are necessarily entertainment based. I know some of you are interested in knowing how I got started and what we're doing. And I'm going to answer a question that was sent in as well. But I want to talk about Reiki. I want to talk about, astrology. I want to talk about those things. And I want to talk about those things with some of the experts. If you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to check out some of my past interviews that I was doing during the pandemic while I was still working my corporate job and I was trying to relaunch Kempire Radio and things like that. I did do a couple of interviews with people that I've interviewed over the years, and I brought them back. I spoke to an astrologer. I spoke to some up-and-coming artists. I spoke to, a bunch of different people. Because I do want the podcast to be a different outlet. I want this to be for those that are watching me on Kempire Daily, and I'm talking about housewives, I'm talking about pop culture news, but also get something a little bit different, something a little bit more personal. So speaking of personal, let's get into my trip to Tennessee. So as you guys know, a lot of you were calling it a vacation. It really wasn't a vacation. It was somewhat of a vacation because I got a little bit of a break from, constantly working. When I'm home, I'm literally recording this at almost 11:30 p.m. at night because I'm like, if I don't do this now, I don't know when I will have the time this week. But I'm also trying to get away from stop saying I don't have time. I have more than enough time, but trying to make the time to do everything that I want to do. That's what I'm trying to do. But that's the great thing about this. I can record this now and I can sleep till whenever I want to. That's the great thing about being independently employed. I love this life. I wouldn't change it for the world. I've been working for the man for too damn long. I probably should have left this the corporate world a long time ago, but everyone's journey is different. Everyone's journey is different. But let's talk about my trip to Tennessee. So I went to Knoxville, Tennessee, specifically Newport, Tennessee, which is a smaller town. I guess, I don't know. I don't know the proper terminology. But I love it. It's beautiful. This is my second time going, but I had never gone during the summer. The last time that I went, it was during the winter, literally in the middle of it's before the winter because it was in November. And, I got to see the Smoky Mountain. Beautiful. They just live differently. I'm a city boy, born and raised here in New York City. So I don't know country life. My parents grew up in Jamaica. My father grew up on a farm. So he's like a country boy from the islands. So going to the country, I can see the benefits of it, but I can also see how, being a city boy, how this doesn't work for me. You know what I mean? There are certain aspects. And I know my friend has said to me one time when we were down there, because it was a group of us that were down there. And she said, the silence doesn't bother you? And I was like, actually, I like it. Could I get used to it? Maybe. But I'm sure coming from the city and the constant quiet can be, a little different. One thing I will say, some people have their own views of Knoxville, Tennessee, and Newport, Tennessee, specifically in Cosby, Tennessee, where I was on the top of the, Smoky Mountains Observatory. And I was like, oh my God, it's so beautiful up here. So beautiful. And mind you, this is a different time of year that I went up there, because when I went the first time, it was gorgeous, but it was also winter and it was rainy. And this time it was hot, but it was a clear day. It's beautiful. Just America has some beautiful, beautiful areas that I have not gotten to see. But being Black, that's an aspect I don't think a lot of people talk about. Being Black, it's sometimes a little concerning to go to certain parts of America and feeling safe to go there. Luckily, I felt safe in this particular environment. Would I have gone on my own? Probably not. If I didn't know people that lived there, probably not. But I'm glad that I did. The first time I went to Dollywood, loved it, had a great time. This time I'm going for a wedding. So we were very busy with that for multiple days. We were very busy with that in the heat. I'm surprised I didn't come back darker than I was because I was out in that heat, but it was a great time, great catching up, meeting new people at the same time, meeting people that I've heard about for years, but have never met. I thought that was really, really nice. I'm not going to share too much about their personal business, but there is a lifestyle, there is a culture of Southern hospitality, Southern nasty nice, meaning like they're going to give you this certain appearance, but there's really drama going on. And mind you, I know all the drama, so I'm sort of like just looking around. I mean, first of all, okay, we know the South, Tennessee's a red state, so they love them some Trump. This is not a political conversation. And I keep telling people, and I'm going to say it again, the Trump situation to me was not about political parties. It was everything that he represented. To me, it had nothing to do with being Republican or Democrat. To me, it was just who Trump represented and all of what he did in regards to multiple groups outside of just Black people. There were many other groups that man targeted. And anyways, you know what it is. So when we went down there, I mean, I'm not surprised by seeing the Confederate flag. I know it's the South. I know certain, places have taken it down. But when you go to certain parts of Tennessee, first of all, I'll say this. I was in a home where this event was taking place. Okay. And beautiful home, gorgeous home. I look at one corner and I'm like, oh shoot, there's a picture of Donald Trump and his wife, Melania. I didn't expect it. I don't know why I didn't expect it, but to have a picture of your president in your home, I know some people are very much like that. However, did they have the picture of Barack and Michelle? Maybe they did. But our current president, I know some people don't believe this, is President Biden. But Biden, I understand why people are so critical of Biden, but he is our current president, but I didn't see a picture of him. But I did see a lot of Biden sucks stickers, bumper stickers. When I went to Gatlinburg, Tennessee, there were plenty of stores I have photos. I just have not posted those photos because I don't want people to think that I'm making fun or that I'm promoting what these people are saying. So all of that being said, I went, I have a lot of photos. Maybe I will share a couple of those photos on Instagram or Twitter or something. Maybe Twitter. Twitter is probably the best place to share that type of stuff, honestly. Make sure you follow me there. So there were a lot of different moments that I noticed. So there was a picture in this home where this event was taking place. And I was like, okay. Not that I didn't expect it. It's not like I don't know that probably all the people that are at this place of this particular family voted for Trump. Like I just to see it though, I was just like, oh. And then when you see your first Trump store, there are Trump stores in the South. For those of you that are up here in the North and other parts of the United States that might not be familiar, there are Trump stores in the South. I didn't go into any of them, but I will say this. Some of the Trump, funny sayings and things like that they have on t-shirts and the funny sayings that they say about some of the Democratic presidents, some of them were funny. I'm not going to even sit here and deny that some of them were clever and funny. Would I be wearing it? Hell to the no. But some of them were interesting. Maybe I'll post something up so you guys can see what I'm talking about. But I had a great time. And it was great because I also made new friends. We had conversations about, and this is what I love about talking to people my age, talking to friends and family around my age, because we're having conversations. So many of my friends literally got married on Saturday July 16th. So much so I couldn't even attend all the weddings. I had a friend getting married in Canada. I had a friend getting married here in New York. I had a friend getting married. Oh my God, who else? Oh, Jennifer Lopez. She's not a friend, but Jennifer Lopez got married on July 16th. Whatever that day was, it was a powerful day for love because so many people got married that day or got engaged that week. I don't know what it was. Astrologers, let me know if you know what was going on in the world. I know there was a new moon that week, or new moon or full moon, something. Something happened that week in regards to that. But I was like, well, this is a great day. And when you think about it, July 16th, July is the 7th month, 1 and 6 equals 7. And then 22, 11 plus 11. Like, I'm into all of that stuff, y'all. And that's why I love the podcast, because we can talk all about that stuff. And there's a person that I would love to have on the show that talks about astrology in a different type of way. Stay tuned for that, because I think that would be a really great conversation, because there are certain things that she says and recommends once she looks at your chart that I think could be helpful to all of you. Certain things that I've implemented in my life. So stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for that. But my trip to Tennessee was interesting. Good. Okay. All of that aside, the culture of Tennessee, beautiful. The amount of cows, horses, big fields, big, beautiful homes. Oh my goodness. So in preparation for this wedding, the girls wanted to go get their makeup done and things like that. And I'm thinking we're going to the Dior store. They're like, no, we are going to a counter at Dillard's. I don't know what I was thinking. So we did that and I went. I went because they wanted my opinion. They wanted to make sure that these people didn't mess up their face. And they all came out beautiful. So we go and this is not going to, I'm on a platform that gets hundreds and thousands of views on a weekly basis. So I have been stopped when I'm out in public, but I'm really not out in public like that, y'all. I'm a real homebody. So sometimes when I've gone into the city, people have stopped me, but we are New Yorkers. We normally don't stop anyone. Literally, I was about to go meet up with someone in the city this past week, and it was hot. We had a heat wave. I'm so glad that it broke, but it was the heat wave, and I really didn't want to go anywhere, but I did. I did it. So I ran into Michelle. Hey, Michelle, if you see this, sweet, sweet woman. And she's like, I love your YouTube channel. And she's like, God bless. You guys are amazing. I feel like I have thousands and thousands of mothers that are always blessing me. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. But I did not expect to go down to Tennessee, to Knoxville, Tennessee, and someone say, well, the makeup artist asked my friend, is he, I forgot, I don't know the exact wording that he said, but basically asking, is he on YouTube? Does he talk about the housewives? And that's how he knew that I'm Kempire. I don't know how even to say it. And I was like, oh, shoot, I did not expect to come all the way down to Tennessee and be recognized. But I love it. I love meeting you guys. I love hearing that we're everywhere. We were just talking about them featuring my video in the Netherlands. And I'm a big advocate for speaking into existence your greatness. So many people want to say, oh, be humble, be humble. No, speak what you want to create. I want it to be so influential around the world. And this is just the beginning. This is just the beginning of how influential we are as a community. And it's just going to continue to get bigger and bigger. So I'm going to own it. I love meeting you guys. I'm humbled when people say that. I'm like, oh, hi, nice to meet you. I'm going back to my house. Monkeypox. Oh my God. I don't know about you guys, but monkeypox is really, I don't know what's happening. Heterosexuals, you can get it too, but for some reason, it's really happening in the LGBTQ community. So if you're a part of the community, do what you can to do to protect yourself. I'm trying, but I stay in my house. But I don't care. I'm like, vax me up. Look, vax me up. I'm ready. Monkeypox. What? We just got off a pandemic. But according, I believe it was Bill Gates who says there will be another pandemic right after COVID. So before I move on to your questions, I do want to talk about the food. So there's no way you can go to Tennessee and not have good food. Some of you were saying that this is the comfort food of America is found in Tennessee. The food was delicious. In Gatlinburg, I went to this place. I can't remember the name, but I took a picture, so I'll post the picture up here. But they had these thick pancakes. To me, it reminded me of when I went to Puerto Rico recently, and they like put like cornmeal in like their pound cakes. They put it in their French toast. Remember, I had that cornmeal French toast. So good, so good. Well, these pancakes, I should have never listened to the people that I was with. They were like, get the 3. And in my head, I was like, no, I should get 2. Again, listen to your instincts. Stop listening to people. Stop listening to people. I didn't even eat the 3rd one. Till this day, I'm mad about it because I'm like, I could have eaten that. I could have eaten that. All of that means that the food was delicious. Our family cooked for us while we were there, but we ate out a couple of times. But you can't be in the South and not have sweet tea. I tried sweet tea at Arby's. I tried sweet tea at McDonald's. I tried sweet tea at Wendy's. And then I tried a homemade sweet tea. And that, of course, was the best. That, of course, was the best. But I did a lot of really good eating. I can't even remember all the things that I ate when I was there. I did go to Cracker Barrel. That was good food too, but that's more like a chain restaurant. Oh, of course, biscuits. We went to this other restaurant and I had French toast that was delicious, but they also, everywhere you go, makes biscuits. So I saw one of my friends get biscuits. I said, oh, I'm going to get a biscuit too. To die for. This is just good old Southern eating, but I could never live down there because first of all, living up here in New York, I'm like, I need to get back on my workout routine, my proper diet. I would be a lot bigger than I am now. And I'm not about that life. But the great thing about when you go to visit, you can eat like that and then you come back and you do what you need to do to maintain your weight and your health. Let's get into these questions. So, as I said before, guys, head on over to Kempire Radio Network at gmail.com to send us your questions. I'm going to try and end the podcast, maybe going forward, if you guys send me enough questions, by ending it with your questions. So, Beth sends an email and she says, hello, Kempire. First and foremost, I want to give you your flowers. Thank you, guys. You do an outstanding job. Your personality is really the key to your success. Although I don't agree with you always, but you know that's okay. I love that you encourage debate on your channel. I'm super happy you have Discord now. I think it will be super helpful in the future. My question is the following. Take us back. How did you start your career? Were you always on YouTube? How did you manage to get any of your interviews, but specifically your interview with Oprah? I wish you nothing but success. God bless. Thank you, Beth. Okay. So for those that may not be familiar, because I know that we've really grown our community tremendously in the last year and a half, almost 2 years. So some of you don't know that here on the Kempire Radio YouTube channel is where we started. So the Kempire Radio YouTube channel has been around for over a decade. I have interviews with all sorts of celebrities, from people like Brandy I've interviewed multiple times, Music Soul Child, Danity Kane, Oprah, as Beth mentioned. So I've been interviewing celebrities for a long time, and some of my fellow content creators are like, oh, I remember you. I remember listening to you. I remember Layla Lynn says, I remember listening to you when I had a corporate job. So I had been doing it for a long time, but I was still working a corporate job for a very long time, partially because as a Taurus, I like stability. I never would take that big leap, during that time. And also I didn't feel like I was ready at that time to take that big leap. But before I even started, interviewing and talking about celebrities, I was a singer and a songwriter for a very long time. Since I was a teenager, always loved to sing, always loved to perform, did that for a long time. And because I had such a passion for music, I created Kempire Radio to give a voice to some up and coming artists. And that's how it all started. That's how it all started on me interviewing celebrities and getting involved in this sort of pop culture world. From there, I kind of fell off and I started traveling the world. I mean, Kempire Radio was always still there. I would do it here and there, but I really focused on traveling because I've always wanted to see the world. I've always wanted, and that's part of the reason why you're starting to see me get back out there. The pandemic really slowed things down for me, but I'm like, I didn't quit my corporate job to be stuck here in the studio. I love being here in the studio. It's a lot easier to be here in the studio, but I have the freedom to work from anywhere. So you will start to see me get out of the studio more and travel and work at the same time because I want to see the world. There's so many places in the world that I want to see. You name it, I want to see it. I don't think there's a place that okay, no, there is a place. I just thought of it. It's because I've been there before. But there's so many other places that I want to see. There's so many countries in Africa that I want to see. There's so many places in Australia that I want to see. There's still tons of places that I want to see in Europe. I would love to go to Russia, but that's not possible. I would love to see North Korea, but that's not possible. So I'll just go to South Korea. So there are plenty of places that I still want to see and travel to and do. So that I started all of this while still working a corporate job. It wasn't until the pandemic that I really pushed forward. And I feel like the universe and everyone was like, no, this is your time. So all of the groundwork was laid during this. And thankfully, it all started just by me. I don't even remember what in my head. I didn't have an end goal. I've never really been about, oh, this is necessarily the end goal. I mean, I set goals now, and I've kind of set goals before, but when I started doing this, I didn't think about it. I just was like, I'm going to go out there and I'm going to do it. And I'm just going to start posting. So if you watch some of my early TikToks and videos and things like that, I was trying a bunch of different things. I was still covering news and things like that, but I was also covering other elements that I like. But a lot of those elements, talking about crystals, astrology, and things like that, I don't include anymore on Kempire Daily, but I am going to bring it back to here on Kempire Radio for other topics, other things that we can talk about here. But my interview with Oprah. So there actually is a video on the Kempire Radio YouTube channel where I was interviewed by the insider after my interview with Oprah. So this was at the very beginning of her own journey, meaning like the channel and setting up her own network. So a lot of people were questioning the network, but a lot of people were also questioning the Kardashian interview that she had done at the time. And we just tagged her in a question on Twitter, and she decided on her own to call into our then radio show, very similar to what we do on Kempire Daily, the live show. I was doing that 15 years ago, 12, 15 years ago, literally in the same studio doing it, different setup, but literally in this studio, live streaming, not on YouTube, but on my own website, kempireradio.com. That's now shifted, but we were streaming then. Data can tell you, Data's been around since then. A few people that have been, Silent's been around since then. So she called in but that was 10 years ago this year that I did that interview. A lot of people would have thought after I did that interview that, oh my God, here's your moment. 10 years later. But no regrets. No regrets. Everything happens for a reason. I think now is truly my time to do what I need to do and to do what I want to do. Beth, thank you so much for the question. Again, guys, if you have a question, send it on over to KempireRadioNetwork@gmail.com and label it in big capital letters, questions for Kempire. Yeah, that way I'll notice it. I appreciate you all being here. I hope everyone is doing well and staying safe. COVID's still out there. Monkeypox is trying to get everybody. Stay safe, y'all. Stay healthy. Stay cool because it's still hot out there. And do all that. Do all that. Thanks so much for watching. Don't forget to like.